Alright, the first thing we're going to go over here today is we're going to get into our columns and our setting everything up. And so we're going to start out with first going into our dashboard, and we want to set up the overall look of our site. So first thing you'll do is to click here into your thesis and your design options. This takes you into this area, and this is where you want to start with looking at your columns. Do you want 2 columns? Do you want 3 columns? You want to do the math to add both of these columns up to around 1,000 or so, and then you want to look at the column order. So do you want a big body? This will be your main pages, and then this littler one will be your sidebar. Do you want 2 sidebars? You can have 2, you can have 1 sidebar, you can have sidebars on either side. And then we're going to next go over here into our body. We're going to pick a font. We're going to pick some colors. So you want your overall site background. If you want your site to be like black, the whole site to be black, you can put a black background in here. By clicking in here, this gives you the possibilities of all kinds of colors that you can move around and play with. And then you want to think your primary text color. So if it's black, you want to make a white primary text color so you can see your text. And then a link color, so where it will link. These 2 buttons add a shadow effect into your layout, and then these add an interior. So, for example, on DIY, what we've done here is we have this shadow, or we have this area here, but we have no borders. If I was going to add these shadow effect, if I just clicked this would change my site from having no sides to having sort of a side on it. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at here is your content area. You have to think about what type font you want. I tend to use 14 if you're going to be using a real informational site, so you can have big text and people can read it. You can go as big as 16 here. And your nav menu you can either inherit from the body, or you can have a totally different nav menu font. And then here's where it gets a little tricky. You got to play around with all of these, and I totally recommend just playing around with all these to see what happens when you do different things and make changes. This is your link text color, your current link color. This is all your navigation here. This is your hovering background. If you want no border, like if I put 5 in here, let's show you what this does to the site. You now have this big, thick border in there. Okay? So like if I wanted to get rid of the columns, I could do this. And I could get rid of all the columns. And then I could have a border on the different areas. And now the site looks very different. It's definitely got a different look. So this is just sort of one thing you can do to play around with different things on your menu here. So let's make this a little bit smaller. I think I actually like this. We're going to leave this for the moment, so you guys can see sort of a different type of look. And if we wanted to go back in and put all this back in, let's just go back to our nav menu, make this 0 again, and let's go back in and put this back in, and then we're going to save. Okay, and now this will take us back to close to the look that we had before. All right. Now we've slightly grayed, done a slightly different gray for the mouse over, so you can see when you're mousing over an area. Okay. Your headlines can be a different color. We're not using headlines. We've turned ours off. Your bylines for your blog, we're not really using that. All this stuff can be different to render different sizes and shapes and colors and things within. So, we're not using the multimedia box. That's a non-issue. We're using the sidebars. We've made that gray. We don't have any headings in those because we've built in headings. And here's our footer. We've made that gray. So that's just some of the stuff. So this is the main thing you're going to work on. The other thing to note is the multimedia box, I always turn it off. I don't like it. I don't think it looks good in the site, so I tend to turn it off. So that's about all we're going to have to worry about right now. So that's your sort of intro to dealing with your site.